Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to our Ingathering Water Communion service. It seems appropriate that we would have rain blessing us today during a time when we celebrate water. That's an optimistic view of rain, right? My name is Laci Adams. I am the Director of Lifespan Faith Development here at Heritage, and I also have the auspicious honor of being the Worship Associate for today. So a few announcements, things to remember, things to think about. There is a sheet of paper, a 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that has upcoming announcements. That's a great way to find out what's happening at the church. You can also find that information on our website. If this is your first time at Heritage, an extra special welcome to be here today. Please do sign our guest book in the back. When you leave this room, it's on a pedestal, a kind of ornate wooden pedestal right outside. That way we have a way of getting in touch with you, figuring out what you might need, connecting you to other resources. For those of you who are on Zoom, if it is your first time visiting us by way of Zoom, there is also an online guest book that will be made accessible to you. So those are ways to connect with us so you can deepen your relationship with Heritage. Also, speaking of pieces of paper, who has your water drop? Okay, great, excellent. If you have this water drop, the purpose of which is to put on the water drop either where your water is coming from or where you are sort of connected to spiritually and place-based in terms of where water is significant to you. So you will put this on here, you will bring it up so that it can be read aloud during worship. If you do not have this piece of paper, you want it. And so you can either go to the back to receive that from an usher, or if you need it, the ushers might be able to bring that forward to you. Also, in way of announcements, today's greeter from the board is Kay Inskeep. Kay, where are you? Kay is in the back, actually by the guest book. So if you need to know where the guest book is or who Kay is, that's directly behind us. And during our potluck lunch today, yes, there is potluck lunch today. Potluck lunches will be on the second Sunday of the month. During potluck lunch today, in the Great Hall, after the service, make sure, in addition to connecting with someone that you do not already know, be sure to check out the sign-up sheets on the side table next to the coffee pot and sign up for great church activities like small dinner groups, parenting groups, chalice circles, and more. Those are ways to deepen your connection with Heritage and make and build the beautiful community that we all appreciate. All right, so with that in mind, let us turn in worship to our call to worship.
Good morning. I see a lot of visitors here, first-timers. Welcome, welcome. I'm Bill Gupton. I'm the senior minister here. Also, hi to everyone on Zoom. I'd like for us to share the call to worship today, which is our traditional call to worship on this particular Sunday as we mark the end of summer and the beginning of a new season in the life of the church. If you will pull out your hymnals, which are under your chair. If you're here in the sanctuary, turn to number 729. I'm asking you to be old school and hold a book. I know you could not do that, but if you're here that's mostly for the Zoomers. If you're here in the sanctuary, how about being old school? Hold a book. Turn to number 729 and read our call to worship responsively with me as folks are still arriving here in the sanctuary. I'll read the words in regular print, and the congregation responds with the words in italics. Ingathering the winds of summer, you and I and all of us blew about with the winds of summer.
Following the sun in different ways of freedom and play.
Finding rest in the cool stillness of shadows and moving to the slow, heat-struck rhythms which turned the long hours of summer light.
Now is the time for gathering in. We come together as a sign and as a praise
Summer is fading backward into memory, and winter waits in snowy brilliance.
We meet with eagerness and delight, needing one another for sharing.
We have joys and sorrows and hopes to share, questions, things we care about and want to help make better.
Things that we would like to understand, ideas waiting to be heard.
Today, we are together in gladness, once more the special community that we call our church.
A community of all ages that sings its songs, tells its thoughts, asks its questions, and searches together with courage and love.
And now, wherever and whenever you are, please rise in body or spirit as you are able and join us in our hymn of invocation, number 123, Spirit of Life, to be followed by our congregational covenant.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
And by this covenant, we affirm that
Love is the spirit of this church.
Quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humankind in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God.
Thank you. And thank you for singing Spirit of Life so beautifully. There's the voices, the energy in the sanctuary, the way this filled was just wonderful. Thank you. So this morning I want to begin with a story. I call this story When a River Becomes a Person. Some of you may recall that my son Patrick lived for a year and a half in New Zealand, and that we visited him there in the spring of 2019. At that time, Patrick was living on a farm in a town called Wanganui, where he was studying for his permaculture certificate. We were lucky enough to be there with him when he graduated and received that certificate. And that day was almost exactly 2 years after something very remarkable had happened right there. Wanganui is a centuries-old town at the mouth of the Wanganui River, which was originally settled by the indigenous Maori people. The Maori tribes consider the river to be tupuna, or ancestor. To them, that river is sacred. It is their source, not just their ancestral home, but literally also their ancestors. Now, this sacred tribal river has, in the past couple of centuries, like every river and stream, every lake and creek in any indigenous land where Europeans have ever arrived, been exploited, industrialized, desecrated, choose your own word, based on the European view of nature as a resource rather than something to be revered. But in 2017, the native Maori tribes pulled off something of a political and social miracle. Nearly 150 years after first petitioning the Parliament of New Zealand for the right to control their sacred river, they not only restored tribal rights to it, but they got rights for it. They achieved rights for the river. The Te Awa Tupua Wanganui River Claims Settlement Act legally gave, wait for it, personhood to the Wanganui River. It said, and I quote, that the river is a legal person and has all the rights and powers of a legal person. I'm getting goosebumps just saying those words. Truth bombs. Truth, love. So, remember when our U.S. Supreme Court declared corporations were people? Well, 5 years ago, New Zealand declared the Wanganui River to be a person. Legislation enacted by their parliament and also affirmed by the late Queen Elizabeth, because New Zealand is part of the Commonwealth, has given the beautiful river you see here the same legal protection and inherent worth and dignity, to throw in a Unitarian Universalist phrase, as any human citizen in New Zealand. Now, I've been to the headwaters of this river, high in the mountains, and to the mouth of the river, where it pours into the Tasman Sea, and to many other places along its winding route in between. And I can tell you that it has a spirit. You can feel it if your heart is open, like you can when you're at any body of water on this planet we share. Try it sometime. Now, I want to read you a few lines from the legislative act that granted legal status to this river. A few lines that also sort of give me goosebumps when I say them. The river and its banks, riverbed, tributaries, and catchment area are a spiritual and physical entity. Remember, the government wrote this. That supports and sustains both life and the natural resources within it, and the health and well-being of the tribes and other communities of the river. The great river is an indivisible and living whole, from the mountains to the sea, incorporating all of its physical and metaphysical elements. A singular entity comprised of many communities working collaboratively for the common purpose of mutual health and well-being. End quote. Just think about that. Way on the other side of the globe 5 years ago, a government, a white European-dominated government, with help and guidance and not a little political pressure from native peoples, wrote those words and passed those words into the law of their land. That's what can happen when a river becomes a person. When we human beings recognize the interconnection and interdependence, to quote from another UU principle, of this natural world of which we are a part. There is a Maori phrase, a Maori spiritual principle, a Maori way of being in the world that was the rallying cry for the political movement that ultimately led to the legal rights now enjoyed by the Wanganui River and all the human and non-human life it supports. Ko ao te awa, ko te awa, ko ao, which means I am the river and the river is me. The moral of this story is that it changes us when we think of nature, a river, a forest, a plant, like we think of a person. When we think of them as our ancestors, because they are. It changed me to be at and to be in the Wanganui River. And that, as the saying goes, has made all the difference. I am the river, and the river is me. So may it be, and amen. Now, when he read the passage of the Te Awa Tupua Act by New Zealand's Parliament, a folk singer named Tom Houston was inspired to write a song called I Am the River. And he said at the time, I was experimenting with a chord sequence that had me hooked, but the words and idea of a song just wouldn't quite form. And then a good friend in New Zealand sent me a link to a video about the Wanganui River. The video told the story of the river, but also of how it had just been granted the legal status of a person. And I suddenly had the inspiration for the lyrics of the song, which include the opening verse that reflects the Maori sentiment and wisdom. Here to sing I Am the River for us now is our music director, Les Tacey.
From the midst in the mountain to the depth of the sea, I am the river, and the river is me. And the fish in the shallow to the sap in the tree, I am the river, and the river is me. And hold my hand and warm my feet in the clay, and close my eyes and wipe my tears away. And the shimmer in the sunlight sets the ice free, for I am the river, and the river is me. And hold my hand and close my eyes and warm my feet in the clay. Close my eyes and wipe my tears away. And the shimmer in the sunlight sets the ice free, for I am the river, and the river is me. From the midst in the mountain to the depth of the sea, I am the river, and the river is me, and the river is me.
Absolutely. Thank you, Les. Thank you so much. So yeah, the story of the Wanganui River and the Maori tribes inspired Tom Houston to write that song, and it has inspired many people all over the world to try to do the same thing, to get some legal rights for entities of nature that we too often take for granted at best and desecrate at worst. Similar efforts, in fact, have been going on here in Ohio, including right here in Cincinnati. So right now, I'd like to invite church member David Small to come forward and tell us about one such effort, which is in fact this week's offering recipient.
Good morning. My name's David Small. I've been a member here at Heritage for roughly 15 years. And today I would like to tell you about an organization and a movement to recognize the rights of nature, personhood, if you will, similar to the personhood we've assigned to corporations, like Bill said. Nature is collectively alive just like us. The vitality of air itself, I don't get goosebumps, I get tears. And water itself and the general environment is critical to life. The rivers, the fish, birds, existence itself. Nature needs protection and its own right to exist. Currently, nature has no legal rights, and as it stands, nature is last on the list, consumed as a commodity, preempted by everyday choices of people who can be preempted by corporations, who can be preempted by localities, who can be preempted by states, and finally preempted federally. Usually in that order, but nature currently has no right to exist. The Lake Erie Bill of Rights, known as LEBOR, LEBOR, was formed in Toledo, Ohio, because Lake Erie, their source of drinking water, was poisoned by an algal bloom, making it undrinkable for 3 days. Imagine Flint, Michigan, another story. Anyway, the citizens of Toledo, after great effort, brought it to ballot and voted to give rights to Lake Erie. Of course, the people passed the initiative. That is their source of drinking water. Lake Erie now had legal rights, still in need of environmental protection, of course, but legal rights. Woohoo! A new paradigm. There's a lot at stake if nature has rights, money, of course, and consequently corporations, and hand, politicians. Now get this, a corporate dairy farm and the state of Ohio sued the city of Toledo, preempting the wish of the people for clean drinking water and the rights of Lake Erie. The Lake Erie now has no rights. But the effort goes on. Rights of nature have been recognized around the world, and it continues to be a worldwide and local effort, as Bill had talked about. Here in Cincinnati, there is a group of citizens who are working to protect the Ohio River watershed. Not just the Ohio River, but the entire watershed, which drains 14 or 15 states. Our local initiative is called the Citizens for the Rights of the Ohio River Watershed, known as CROW, C-R-O-W, working to give rights to the entire Ohio River watershed. This organization is close to releasing the Ohio Bill of Rights, known as ORBOR, and we hope that the city of Cincinnati will embrace that and get behind it. So because we are literally only a part of nature and completely dependent on this relationship, protecting nature, giving rights to nature, is indirectly helping to protect ourselves and our children, not just people, but all life. All nature needs fresh water to exist. We need clean, fresh water. Will you speak for nature? Will your donation, with your donation, to support the work of CROW this morning? This morning collection will help protect life itself. Thank you.
All right, everyone, I need some help from our young people. If you would like to, could you come forward? Come forward. Come on. I mean, all the way forward, onto the altar. Come and stand on the wood. Okay. All right, now spread out. Spread out, like make a line. Come, there's a lot of space over here. Here we go, just kind of try to spread out a little. Let's make space for all of our friends on the wood. All right. All right, so did you know that each of our bodies, essentially everyone's body, is about 75% water? Yes? Yes? Did we know? Was that? Say again? Your eyes are almost entirely water. How interesting. Well, that's how you cry. Why you cry is more complicated than that. So we think about water, when we talk about water, we talk about water as something that happens out there. But we are all water. So I would like for a short period of time for you to help me think about how water gets together and moves, right? Let's imagine that each of you are a water drop. One single water drop. Are you a river? Not yet, right? One single water drop can do some things. It can make a ripple in a pond. It can splash. It can make your clothes a little wet or get in your eye. And in the case of a tear, we might think of a single water drop as a tear. So there are some things that just a single water drop can do. But when one water drop gets with another, why don't you find a partner who is not a sibling? Find a partner. Find a partner. Here. Oh, look, here. Can you go to the end here? I think we have someone waiting on a partner. Do you think you can do that? Why don't you and your sister go all the way to the end together? Find a partner. All right. Does everyone have a partner? Come this way. All right. Look around. Look around and make sure you have at least one partner. Okay. Well, you know, we're going to end up that way anyway, okay? It's okay. Yes, here. Come here. Crosley, get in this group here. Okay. Now, let's imagine that you are a bathtub. You've gotten a little bigger as drops of water. So now, what are you capable of together? Yes?
We're capable of
A lot more things, right? Some drops together could make a cup of water that could nourish someone. You could be a bathtub, which would make it possible for you to give a bath to someone. Who loves bathing? Come on, really? Who loves bathing?
I like showers. I like showers.
Wow, no adults bathe in here. Moments when you realize that you are the parent of a toddler talking about baths. Now, let's imagine we are bathtubs. We are water, or buckets of water, or we're rain barrels or cups of water, and we go out down a drain into the ground. Now we start to do something sort of interesting. Can this group, why don't this group join that group over there? Now we are rivers, many rivers, that snake through towns and under bridges and all over the planet, right? Rivers and bayous and gullies and all sorts of tiny bodies of moving water. Those are only just tiny drops that are the beginning of tiny drops. And when it rains, like it is doing today, all of those tiny drops start to fill up places and streams and lakes and bodies of water. So the rain helps to keep all of the bodies of water on the earth full and happy. If you've ever been down into near our sanctuary and into our wooded area, many of our young people love to play after the rain because what arrives? Yes, mud. But our tiny creek on the property becomes a little more substantial. And after a rain, there is a tiny river that we can play in, right? Now, and a lot of mud. Yes, yes, yes. No one is negating the mud. The mud is real. It is real. But the mud is earth and water together. So also mud tells us about the importance of rain. Now let's all come together, group together. Let's scrunch up together. Now you are a mighty ocean. And the ocean, the oceans, span our entire continent, connect us with places all over the world we might never have seen, that we might never see. But the water of our tiny lakes connect us to the oceans of all of the world. And that means that also, these raindrops that you are each become a mighty ocean, connect us to polar ice caps and icebergs and creatures of the deep and ginormous, beautiful whales in the ocean and all sorts of fish and sharks and marvelous things. And potentially some sea monsters, if they are real. But there are so many things that we do not know about our deep oceans. But that ocean began with a tiny drop. And that tiny drop is in each of you. So water is not just a thing outside of us, but water is a thing in us. And when put together, when connected, it also connects us to all things on our great and glorious planet. So anytime the rain is coming down and you think, I might be melting, think about how your melting connects you to the deep world in which we live, and that you are the river, and the river is you. All right, you can go back to your seats now. Thank you for your help.
One of the many things that makes Heritage Church somewhat unique is our next ritual, our cherished ritual we call Candles of Community. The opportunity for those who've been here for years or those who've been here for minutes to share a joy or a sorrow, a milestone, something significant in your life with the congregation, and for the congregation to hold you in that joy or in that sorrow. In a moment, I will invite people to come forward and share as they are called and moved to do so. But first, I'll share a couple of candles that have come via email and been submitted ahead of time, and so on. And I think we should begin this morning with a collective candle, acknowledging and remembering the tragedy that befell our nation and our world 21 years ago today. We honor the lives lost on 9/11 and the lives forever changed on that dark and sad day. So we light one final candle for those unspoken joys and sorrows that are both held out in the Zoom world and here in this sanctuary in our hearts. Please join me now in a time of prayer and silence. Spirit of life that pulses in the water, in the wind, in our very veins, we give thanks this morning for your song of compassion in our hearts. We give thanks for this community which holds us in our sorrows and celebrates our joys with us. We give thanks that year after year, generation after generation, this community remains a steady presence through wars and pandemics, changes and transformations. This morning, as we abide in solidarity with those who have shared at this altar and those who are not with us at this time, yet whom we still care for deeply, let our rituals and our words, our songs and our silence remind us of those connections, of our profound connection with one another and with all that is. For these myriad and mysterious connections, we give thanks this day. Blessed be, and amen. Let us take a moment now in silence to sit and be still and be present with our own thoughts, our own feelings, our own private prayers. Shalom, namaste, ashe, and amen. Now I'd like to invite you to sing a hymn with me. It's titled, "There's a River Flowing in My Soul," and the words should be appearing on the wall. Please rise in body or spirit, or wherever you are on Zoom. There's a river flowing in my soul.
There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul. And I'm telling me that I'm some
as Johannes said, it is great to hear the singing. Reverend Marnie Harmony writes, I say it touches us, that our blood is seawater and our tears are salt, that the seed of our bodies is scarcely different from the same cells in seaweed, and the stuff of our bones is like coral. I say that the tide rolls on in each of us, whether we like it or not, and that the sands of time keep running their intended course. I say we must go down into the wave's trough to find ourselves, and then ride her swell until we can see beyond ourselves and into our neighbor's eyes. This morning we seek to see into our neighbor's eye and to know the truth that we are, all of us, deeply connected, seamlessly interconnected like the drops of water in a river. This Ingathering Sunday, we return to community for ritual and for tradition's sake to praise those connections that hold us, that embrace us, and that offer us roots and wings. We do this, as do other Unitarian Universalists throughout the country, here at the end of summer, on the cusp of fall, by bringing with us to our beloved sanctuary small samples of water that we have collected from places that are special to us, from locations near or far that hold spiritual significance in our lives and in the lives of those we love. We bring rainwater and tap water, creek water and glacier water, river water and rivers of tears, all the types of water Laci helped us imagine with the children a few moments ago, because all water is one, and in it so are we. We are the river. Today we come together in a Unitarian Universalist tradition called the water ceremony. On our historic altar and in this historic chalice, we will merge our waters, honoring the beauty of diversity, the mystery of interconnection, and the awe-inspiring power that is water. In doing so, we will be reminded that all life on this planet is dependent upon and comes from water. We pause to reflect on the fact that just like the changing seasons and the coming and going of church years, water itself follows a natural cycle, flowing in the river, rising to the clouds, falling in the rain. We too are part of that cycle. I am the river, and the river is me. The waters that we have brought here today are symbolic of our place in that great circle. And when we have collected the water, we will use it in the months ahead to celebrate rituals and rites of passage in our community. With this water, we will dedicate babies. With this water, we will honor the dead. With this water, we will heal one another's spirits in the depths of winter in our annual water blessing service, exactly 6 months from today, on the other side of the calendar, on the other side of the wheel of the year. Cycles, seasons, passages, generations. This is the story of water. This is our story. In a moment, I'm going to invite everyone in the sanctuary to come forward, whether or not you brought water with you, because we have enough water here on the altar for you too, so that everyone will come forward as they're willing and able and pour a small amount of water into the chalice to join it with all the other water that we bring today as our offering of love and respect for this planet. When you reach right here just in front of the pulpit, please hand me your little blue paper water drop on which you have written the location or source of your water, and I will read aloud the name of that place as you pour your water into our chalice. We ask that you form a circle around the sides and back of the sanctuary, much as you would at the end of the service for the benediction, and that the line move in a clockwise direction like this toward the chancel. Come forward in a single file from this side and hand me your card, and then return to your chair up the center aisle so that everyone can see what's going on, including our friends on Zoom who we have invited to bring water during the week ahead of time. We will begin with what remains of last year's water. the unused portion of that water which we gathered in this ceremony last summer. Laci pours some of that water into the chalice now as we begin our water ceremony 2022. And now, as I said, the remainder there will be for extra for folks who didn't bring any water, but if you would like to line up and come forward with your water and your blue paper water drop, now is the time. While people are lining up, I'm going to start by pouring a little water from the creek at Heritage Acres. From my house that was just rehabbed. The Salida River in Colorado. From Schaefer's Fork River in Parsons, West Virginia. From Suttons Bay, Michigan. We've got Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Sanibel Island, Florida, and Anderson Township, Ohio, already merged. That's good. From College Hill, Ohio. Important here, soccer water. I know how important that is. From our home, okay, sorry. From our home, from Ziegler Pool, downtown. Carleon? Representing Carleon Beach in the Pacific Ocean. Melted snow from the mountains of Utah. From the natural spring in Manistee, Michigan. Kichiti-Kopi. From our rain barrel. From my faucet. From the swimming pool at my condo. From the fountain at Marshall University in Huntington, West Virginia. Marshall did something pretty amazing yesterday. From Lake Michigan. Amelia tap water. From the East Fork, from a waterfall in a stream. From the Seaver's backyard. Representing my heart, which as we know is 75% water. From the Allagash River. From Moosa, Midwest UU Summer Assembly in the Ozarks in Missouri. From Scrap It, what's the second word? Scrap It Up in Cincinnati. Achill Island in Ireland. Water from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania. Water from the Little Miami River. From a drinking fountain in Portland, Oregon at the convention center where General Assembly was held. from Claremont County. Yep. From Steamboat Springs, Colorado. From the magnificent Red River Gorge in Kentucky. From the beach at the Isle of Palms. Good job. From the Sea of Cortez. I'll pour it all in, unless you don't want to. Representing the, from the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Representing Sparta, New Jersey. From Downing Pond in New Hampshire. This even got water on the drop. From Cedar Falls Resort in the Hocking Hills and their 50th anniversary. From Hidden Valley Lake, representing Hidden Valley Lake in Indiana. And representing My Brother's Well in Sutton, Massachusetts. From Our House. You don't have to be, you can do more. From tap water from Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and water from the water fountain at Walt Disney World. And bottled water from Delta Airlines, which I will be on soon, but which was from Crosley's first plane ride. I remember my first plane ride. Representing water from the Cincinnati Nature Center. And how appropriate that we finish it up with the Cincinnati Nature Center. Thank you. We have joined our collected waters as a symbol of our place in this community we hold dear, and of our place in this life, which we are briefly blessed to share with one another. And we have offered our gifts in the faith that by sharing we are made whole. Though the water now held in this chalice has come from many sources, may the unity we now witness in it be reflected in the life of our church and in the life of our wider world in the year ahead. May this water serve to inspire us and uplift us as we use it to bless new life, to honor lives lost, and to call us to live our own lives more fully and compassionately. And now please repeat after me each line of our collective blessing of these waters. Simply say back each line that I now say. May this water be blessed.
May this water be blessed.
May this year be blessed.
May this year be blessed.
May our lives be blessed.
May our lives be blessed.
Amen.
Amen.
Join hands around the sanctuary for our benediction. So as folks are circling up here, just take a moment and enjoy and take in what it's like when the sanctuary is full like this, huh? Hope you guys can see this on Zoom too. May the Spirit of life, that each of us possesses, flow from one to the other. May it stay with us. And bring us peace and harmony. Until we meet again. Amen. And I think we're going to meet again in the Great Hall just to the right in about 2 minutes.